The year was 2008. I remember going to school, really excited. I had my silver DS with me, or well, not my brother's, as I didn't have a DS at the time. I only had a Game Boy Advance. And I was very excited. You see, during breaks and such, we would normally play games like Mario Kart, but there was one game I was looking forward to more than the others. This game was called Metroid Prime Hunters. Now, the game hasn't received the best reviews over time, as it's mostly known for a game with a mediocre gameplay, not the most comfortable controls, and not the best story. However, it is known for having an absolutely amazing multiplayer to it, which is the only thing I played, as I didn't own the game, so I had to play it over the DS's download play. That, however, did not change the fact that I really enjoyed the game. It was super fun, and I was super excited to play it whenever I got the chance to. Fast forward a couple of years, and I haven't actually played a Metroid game yet. I'm in high school, actually the first year of high school as a 16-year-old here in Sweden, and I decided to get a GameCube emulator to play Super Smash Bros. Melee. Whilst getting this emulator, I looked up some games that are supposed to be really good. I proceeded to get games like Pokemon Colosseum, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and Metroid Prime. I knew that Metroid Prime was the same game as Metroid Prime Hunters due to Samus being the same character. I recognized Samus from the box art of Metroid Prime Hunters I had been shown by one of my classmates, as well as one of my friends who lived in the same street as me who owned the game, and I would also play the game with him. I decided to play the game, and I loved every single second of it, to the point where I actually decided to look up more Metroid games. I played Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 3, and I even decided to play games like the original Metroid, even though I didn't beat it, or well, Zero Mission in this case, Metroid Fusion, Super Metroid, and Metroid Samus Returns on the Game Boy. I very quickly fell in love with these games, and honestly, they're a big part of why I love FPS games. However, let's go back a little bit. You see, way before I started in high school, I had played other FPS games. But if I hadn't played Metroid Prime Hunters, I don't think I would have gotten that intrigued. So let me explain why Metroid Prime Hunters essentially got me into wanting to play FPS games, and very specifically hero shooters, because of it being very similar to hero shooters. You see, I way earlier on got the chance to play Call of Duty thanks to my brother having COD 4 and MW2 on the PlayStation 3. I ended up playing them because my brother didn't use the PlayStation, and he essentially let me try playing them when my parents weren't home. And I loved the competitive aspect of those games. You see, I'm a very competitive person by nature. I always want to compete, I always want to do my best, and I want to essentially be able to play against others that are doing their best to win as well. I love that excitement of playing against players that are good, and also getting as good as possible myself. And this is something that Call of Duty kind of filled for me. Later on, I decided to try out Counter-Strike, even though I didn't enjoy it as much to the same degree when it comes to more competitive aspects of it. I still felt like it was a fun game. I decided to get more into the COD sniping scene because I felt like sniping was fun, and that made me learn editing. All of this only happened because I decided to try them out thanks to a first-person shooter like Metroid. So when I and my team got to explore Metroid Prime again, I was super excited. I was really enjoying the games. All three of the mainland trilogy of the Prime series were super fun to me. And with Metroid Prime Hunters working very similarly to a hero shooter, when Overwatch came out, decided to really give Overwatch a shot on my brother's account, but I didn't enjoy it. It just didn't feel that same type of excitement that Metroid Prime Hunters filled. So I waited, and one day, when I was playing CSGO with my friend, I decided to look up this announcement I saw on YouTube. It was for a game called Project A. This game would later on be released on the name of Valorant, but I really thought the tactical aspect of Counter-Strike mixed with the hero shooter type of aspect from Overwatch would really inspire me. Even though it's not a lot similar to Metroid Prime Hunters at all, I felt like this would be it, and it was. I love Metroid. I love Metroid Prime Hunters, and I don't think I would have been trying to play FPS games if it wasn't for those games. The games are great. Everywhere from the soundtrack, which by the way has been playing throughout this video. I want to highlight that real quick because I think a lot of people might not know that. On top of that, a lot of people when they hear Metroid might think of the actual mainline Metroid games because, surprise surprise, Metroid Prime is actually a spin-off. You see, the mainline Metroid games actually go in the line of Metroid, Metroid Samus Returns, Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, and Metroid Dread. But what is so different to these games than the rest of the Metroid series? Well, whilst Prime is technically a spin-off series, Prime is a first-person shooter, whilst the Metroid mainline series are platformers. Or, well, better explained, Metroidvanias. You see, they, along with Castlevania, would end up creating the subgenre Metroidvania for platforming games, like Hollow Knight and Ori and the Blind Forest. I did not realize how much I love these type of games until I started playing them more and more. You see, Metroid motivates you to not only learn how to potentially sequence break the game, meaning you beat the game in an order not originally intended, but they straight up motivate you to basically speedrun the games by essentially giving you awards for beating the game as fast as possible. And the same goes for 100%ing the game and exploring literally every single secret in the game. And may I add, there's a lot of them through backtracking. This made it so that you even at times had to play through the game multiple times to get the different rewards, which made it super fun. But what does all of this have to do with Metroid Prime? Again, Metroid Prime isn't a Metroidvania, is it? It's an FPS game. Whilst you could argue that Metroid Prime Hunters is an FPS game thanks to its multiplayer, I think most people would argue that Metroid Prime isn't really an FPS game. Whilst you do walk around and shoot, most of the time you just lock onto an enemy and shoot them. You don't really aim a lot on your own, even though I do it now. I still use the C-lock most of the time against enemies. It brought in this Metroidvania aspect of gameplay, of wanting to explore something, then go back to explore something else. This allowing you to unlock something to then go to a new area where you've seen something that unlockable essentially allows you to go through. Oh, this door is locked. I can't open it because of this red thing on it. Let me go over into this other door, get some missiles, walk back, and blow up this lock on the door. This really motivates you to essentially explore the game and really try to find out as much as possible about the game and really thoroughly enjoy the game in a very different way than normal. A lot of the time you look at something, like a door or something like that, and you'll go, I can't go there right now. Why, I can go there later, so I'll keep this in mind and see what I can find to potentially go through there later. Whether it's a tiny hole in a wall or a literal door, it can vary a little bit, and it's always fun. In this way you can unlock these different abilities that can allow you to do a variety of different things. Backtracking and exploring is so incredibly fun, especially when you don't actually have a story told to you throughout the entire game. You see, instead of telling you everything that's going on, the game has you kind of just figure it out through just looking at what's happening on your screen. On top of that, you have a scan visor that you can use to scan different parts of lore in this world and essentially learn more about what's going on and what this different parts of the world is. This makes it so that you want to walk around with the scan visor and just scan different things to find out different parts of the game. And I think all of this delved into me wanting to play more games like this, but I didn't feel like there was much. I wanted to play a Metroid Prime Hunters against other players, but I couldn't find an FPS that really settled me to feel that way until Valorant came. Well, sure, again, Valorant didn't make me feel that same way. Valorant did find me enjoying the game in very similar manners. Sure, I can turn into a ball and put down exploding balls in front of my enemies, but what I can do is walk around and just shoot them. I think Metroid Prime Hunters had a great multiplayer, but I also think something that made it very interesting to me is the introduction it gave me to FPS games. All FPS games don't have to be about pointing at your enemy and just shooting them. A lot of them can be about something else, something more strategical or something more explorative. I think that's what made me really fall in love with the Metroid Prime series, and later on with games like Valorant. Now, you might ask me why I decided to talk about all of this right now. Honestly, the answer to that is pretty simple. Earlier this year, Nintendo decided to release Metroid Prime Remastered, a remaster of the 2002 game that I love so dearly. They released on the Nintendo Switch, and most of the footage you watch from Metroid Prime has actually been from my stream when I played it shortly. Which I guess also kind of gives you, yeah, that's me. I don't think you guys have seen me, huh? Yeah, that's me in the corner. Hi, I guess. Well, if all of this being said, whether you are a big FPS fan or not, I highly recommend giving Metroid Prime a try, and even other games like Metroid Dread. They're all really good games, and with Metroid Fusion also being available on the Switch if you have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass, which honestly isn't really worth the money, but you know, it's not that bad. With all of this being said, all the way from the amazing soundtrack of Metroid Prime to the amazing combat, although it isn't very FPS-like in combat, to its incredible narrative and exploration, I think this game has a lot of aspects to it that I don't think a lot of people in modern gaming has actually gotten to try. Hell, I don't think most people even gotten to play a game like Metroid at all. It's a very different game in how it's built, especially the Metroid Prime series. I think that if you have a Switch, and you want to get a good game, get Metroid Prime. It's $40 and honestly, it's worth $60. So there's no real reason not to get it. But with all of that being said, I'm gonna leave. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.